Ladies and gentlemen, this is your main event of the evening.
Fighting out of the red corner from HBF Stadium Festival Hall. Melbourne Pavilion.
Not even backstage, we're literally outside.
Was that the best fight card in Australian MMA history?
Call me crazy, but make sure you call me when I'm right.
Ladies and gentlemen, today's guest needs no introduction. He is not just one of the greatest Australian mixed martial artists we've ever produced. He's one of the greatest athletes our country has ever produced. Mr. Robert Whittaker is a former UFC champion, absolute stud and all-round guy. He should win an Australian of the Year. He's that great. Look, excellent little chat, little quick chat. We get in, we get out, we have some fun. This is the place you want to be. We get Rob's thoughts on sort of where his UFC career is at right now, in his thoughts on the Australian MMA scene, kind of what he'd be doing if he wasn't fighting, and kind of how he wants to be remembered. Very, very honoured for Mr. Rob Whittaker taking the time, because not too many athletes do interviews after their fights. It's very, very rare, and it shows just how generous Mr. Rob Whittaker is with his time. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Rob Whittaker. Mr. Robert Whittaker, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me, mate.
You're doing the like almost like the press rounds post fight. Is that normal?
Yeah, like it is when you win. Everybody wants a piece of you when you win, mate. Well, I don't know if you lose, mate. Trust me, nobody gives a heck.
I'll talk to you.
There's no rounds.
I'll talk to you when you lose.
Okay, I'll hold you to that, mate. I'll hold you to that.
I mean, coming off the back, obviously, of a great victory, and then no one gives you any time to rest. They're immediately like, "Oi, you're going to fight in Perth," but no, you've come out and said you're actually just going to enjoy the event. Are you looking forward to just taking your kids to the event?
Oh, mate, they've never been to a UFC, so I can't wait, especially to take them to one that's in Australia. You know, gonna have the home crowd there. They're going to feel very welcomed. I cannot wait.
Are you taking your kids to watch you fight? I mean, do you let them watch you fight at all?
Yeah, they watch me on TV. They've never seen me live. I will. I'm hoping they watch me live at least one time before my career's up, but we'll wait and see.
Do you have to have that chat with them where you're like, "Hey, look, I might lose," and all that sort of stuff, or do they kind of just get the game?
Nah, you don't give that power by voicing it, right? You just yeah, it is what it is.
Well, I mean, like my dad, who's never trained a day in his life, he would never lose a fight. Like that's in my head. I'm like, my dad's not losing. So I think it's like it's quite that gamble. Do you want your kids to fight? The whole thing, you've got the whole fighters fight so their kids don't have to type thing. Do you care if they get into it?
Like I'd rather they didn't, but I'll support anything they do. So if they want to, they can. If they don't, I won't be too upset.
Why do you get into it?
I think I've always liked combat sports. I've always liked fighting, like Dragon Ball Z growing up, and every other martial arts sort of show you can watch as a kid. And then I don't know, I felt good at it when I was doing it, so I think that helps. Like just feeling. I've been pretty decent, halfway decent at it growing up. And I think I originally got into mixed martial arts, like competitive fighting, because one, I'm competitive, but also two, I think I was looking for an identity. Because before I fought, I was just the Hauso kid from Menai, right? But once I started fighting, I became the fighter. And I much preferred that identity than the other one. So I think that had a big part of my introduction into the sport. But, eventually I got over that and grew up a little bit.
Does it you kind of reached the ceiling. I mean, I'm assuming you don't follow the regional scene too much, but in terms of where it was when you were an up-and-comer and where it is now, have you seen it grow?
Oh, mate, it's night and day. Like the sport isn't anything like it used to be. And I think that's just like, for one, that's hands down influenced by the UFC. They are an amazing company, and the way they have spread mixed martial arts and made it accessible to most of the globe is unbelievable. And that's no different here. The MMA has exploded thanks to the UFC here in Australia, and you see more than ever. Like, there's more UFC fighters from Australia than there's ever been right now. So yeah, it is a night and day difference from when I started. Because when I started, like, the sport was relatively new here still, but also, like, there was no information online on what to do. There was, like, the gyms were smaller. There was no amateur scene. Like, I never had an amateur fight. There was no amateur fights. Like,
You were like halftime of a Muay Thai show in a car park. You you brought your own gloves to fight. And like you made the rules up as you go.
Oh mate, it was touch and go. It was touch and go for sure.
What was one of your most sketchiest moments where you're like, "What am I doing?"
It probably would have been like weight cuts. My weight cuts were crazy in the beginning because I just didn't know what the hell was going on, and there was no information to be found anywhere else. And because like wrestling isn't huge in Australia, it's building up now, but especially back then, wrestling was like non-existent. So we don't have that background of cutting weight, which I think like a lot of the Americans have, and a lot of other countries with heavy influence of wrestling. They understand what it means to cut weight and for matches and whatnot. But here we don't really have that. So it was really touch and go. And some of my weight cuts and diets leading the weight cuts were just stupid, dude. Like there was like a weight there was a weight cut I did like where I would only drink milk and salad.
So what?
Like, I'd only drink milk and eat salad. It was stupid, like so bad. I don't understand. There's another one where I spent like 6 hours in a sauna, and I like end up like hurting my trachea because like breathing all that hot air for so long. It was just stupid.
Like, did you have any guidance, any sort of mentor, or were you guys just both, looking up encyclopedias on how to do it?
Yeah, that's it. We were just kind of working through it. Like, honestly, a lot of my early credit goes to my wife because she was studying exercise science at the time, and she was the one that introduced me to like eating well, eating cleaner, the difference of like foods holding different waters, and yeah.
Who was your inspiration back then?
I never really had any inspirations. So I've never really been massive into watching fighting. Honestly, my biggest inspiration is probably my old man. Like I've always wanted just to do him proud. So yeah, that was probably my biggest inspiration. But I do remember watching like, do you remember back in the day, late at night, there'd be the kickboxing?
Yeah.
I'd watch some of that and watch like people like Parr and Zambitas and Carnage and those boys just throwing punches and kicks, and that was always cool.
Is there anyone you met throughout your career where, you kind of looked up to them a little bit, or you saw them on TV and then you finally met them and you were like, holy shit?
Not really. Like, not really. I'm not really rooted into reality too much, man. I play too many video games and whatnot.
Do you in the way of like guys playing video games, it used to be like almost like a nerdy thing to do. Now some of the most violent men in the world like all play video games. Do you like that the stigma's changing?
Oh mate, the stigma never bothered me anyway, so yeah, I think COVID did a really good. That was about the only thing COVID did well, was just get a lot of people that wouldn't have touched video games to give it a go.
And do you separate? You got your belt behind you and whatnot, but do you separate fighting and family a whole lot? Like when you're not training, training's out the door type thing.
Yeah, to a fair degree. It's when I train, I focus only on training. That's why whenever I take one of the kids. It's always sketchy when I take one of the kids to the session with me to watch me because I forget they're there a lot of the time because I'm just training, and then it hits me. I'm like, crap, where's my kid? And
you just wailing on someone.
Yeah, it's a bit like that.
Now, if you weren't doing MMA, well, what would you be doing?
I'd probably be a pretty average electrician. Like that's what I was doing before I entered the UFC. I was an apprentice electrician, and yeah, then I got into the Ultimate Fighter house, went on leave, and never came back.
Was anyone like, what are you doing? That's a dumb decision. Like, a trade's a good, solid job.
Not really. Like, I don't know of anyway.
I feel like you had the most like casual rise. You were like, oh yeah, MMA, yeah, cool. Oh yeah, I'm in the UFC. That's great. Like, was there any point you like? I mean, you did it at such a young age, but was there any bit of you that was like, this might be a dumb career path?
No, but like I kept my job on hold for about a year because I just had no faith that I would be able to make a living out of this. Like I had absolutely no expectations of winning and getting as far as I've gone. Like absolutely zero. I should have believed in myself a bit more, but yeah, like my colleagues called me like a year later and said, hey, Rob, you coming back or I was like, no, I think I'm pretty good, mate.
Do you reckon when you retire, you'll go back and
back to the tools, mate? I would have had to stuff up somewhere to have to go back on the tools after my career, mate. If heaven forbid I end up back on the tools after my career, like who can make it then? Like, you know what I mean? I've done everything in this sport. I've reached the highest of highs, and if I still have to get on the tools at the end, like either I'm an alcoholic or I've just like piss poor investment decisions.
But I like that, like everyone credits like Stipe when he was like the heavyweight champion still being a fireman, and I'm like, I think that kind of makes the sport look bad. Like, he's like,
why is it? This dude's working a 9 to 5 still, like as the heavyweight champ of the world. Like, pay the guy some more.
Imagine you couldn't get a title fight because you're like, Dana, sorry, I can't get leave.
Yeah, I've used up all my sickies.
No, mate, when it comes to actually fighting, and obviously like the belt is held in such a high regard, but you're also a very competitive man. I wanted to ask you this question. This was the main one I had going in. Would you rather win the belt again from someone that you've never competed against, or would you rather get a fight back against like Izzy or Dricus?
No, I'd rather take it off Dricus, to be honest, because I want to get that fight back. I feel like I let myself down in our first pairing, and I want to make amends.
More than the Izzy bouts.
He's still on the list, but right now he's behind Dricus.
Is it hard seeing two dudes that have beaten you go up against each other and you're just kind of sitting there watching?
Not really. I think you're overthinking it a bit.
I don't know. Maybe it's like, two exes and you're like, oh, look at them go together.
Mate, they're not my exes though.
It's fair point.
I just hope they hurt each other.
Just
good fun.
Double knockout. Just
bash each other 5 rounds. Slugfest. Never the same afterwards. A bit sick.
Is there anyone that's on the checklist that you just want to get in the ring with before it's all done?
Yeah, like I said, there's Dricus, there's Adesanya. Who else have I lost to? Wonder Boy and Court McGee. Those dudes still chasing them. They're down there. They're on the list as well. Why not? Screw it. Put them on there.
If you take out, you have to do this for me. If you take out Izzy and Dricus, the next guy you call out is Court McGee.
Just working my way through that list, dude.
Oh, mate, that is great. Look, before I let you go, because I don't want to take too much of your time, I know you're a very busy man, but I ask everyone this that comes on the show, but after it's all said and done, how does Rob Whittaker want to be remembered in mixed martial arts?
I want to be remembered as the best middleweight to have ever been, to have ever lived. That's my goal. That's what I'm working on.
What about your welterweight memories?
Oh, stuff that. Let's hope we can scratch that out. But at some point, people forget that I was ever a welterweight.
Oh, mate, thank you so much. I really appreciate the time, and hopefully we can chat soon.
Definitely. Thanks for having me, mate.
Yeah, that's mate. See ya.